Steve Dowder here. How the heck you doing this fine day? And welcome to Gray Matters, our podcast for boomers, Gen Xers trying to come to terms with life online. Today we're going to be taking on a pretty interesting topic. Co-host Viveka von Rosen will be joining me in a few minutes to have a little bit of a conversation about this. But I'm going to start off today by editorializing and pontificating just a little bit. And the topic is the topic of social media vigilantism. I believe that we're seeing a real surge in using social platforms to try and correct bad behavior and to try and gain a measure of justice. And I don't think social media platforms were built with justice in mind, but they are certainly being used more and more to deliver a form of justice. And I'm wondering what we think of the justice that's being delivered and if it's the right place for it. And if it is, or if it's not, what should we be doing? Should we be encouraging it? Should we be discouraging it? Can we discourage it in any effective way? It's going to be an interesting conversation today. But before we get into that conversation today, a quick word from our sponsor. Gray Matters is brought to you by Ground News, a game-changing platform that's revolutionizing the way we consume news by aggregating news articles from diverse sources and providing a comprehensive overview with an unbiased view of current events. Unbiased news, Steve? That's an oxymoron, right? Nothing is unbiased, especially in the news game. You are mostly right. But here's why I like Ground News and bought a subscription myself. With every story, we instantly see a comprehensive view from multiple sources, right, left, and center. So you get both sides of the story immediately. Look, you're already better informed. You're not limited to a single perspective. You get to see the entire spectrum. So perhaps balanced might be a better term to use rather than unbiased. But there's more. My favorite feature is called Blind Spot. It highlights stories that are getting heavy play on one side of the spectrum, but are being ignored on the other. It's kind of like having a built-in curiosity trigger, making you ask, why is this story being silenced? Or conversely, why are they promoting it? Ground News is incredibly customizable, allowing you to assign the types of news you want and from where you want to get it. You can even get local news, keeping you informed about what's happening in your community. Now, I am very concerned about the impact of social media on our society, and I appreciate Ground News' ability to be able to break down echo chambers. We really need to take back control of our information and opinions rather than letting the algorithms dictate what we think and what we believe. Ground News is a part of the solution to this problem. It's not a silver bullet, but it is a step in the right direction. You owe it to yourself and to the rest of us to check it out. You can try it for free. Paid accounts start at as little as $1 a month. If you go to dott.to/groundnews, you'll get 15% off on your subscription. I want to spend a few minutes and talk to you all about what I consider to be a growing problem and a real threat to some of our safety and certainly our civility. The growing trend to use the internet, social networks specifically, as object lessons to correct bad behavior. We see on social media now, and it makes it to mainstream media, typically speaking, these things will gain a life of their own. But with the proliferation of smartphones everywhere, if you throw a fit in a Burger King and get all out of sorts and throw a hamburger at an employee and enter into a racist rant about people, or confront somebody on the street in a traffic incident where somebody has a little bit of a road rage incident, when we lose a little bit of control, or in some of these cases a lot of control, there's often somebody there to document it now, and they will document that information, and often it is something which is very useful to the police because there are things that should be charged for. Now, whether or not these things should also be shared in public, that's the heart of the question, which I'm working my way through to. But often it's just somebody just being rude and being recorded, and we have this kind of vicarious interest where we love to see people acting badly. Does it make us feel better about ourselves? I don't know. But it certainly does create popular social content, and the social media networks jump all over it and they share it to all of our content. And we see it. Now, that alone is worth having a conversation about. But specifically what I want to talk about today is the doxing of these people. There are, in social platforms, especially I see it in TikTok a lot, several individuals who have taken it as their responsibility to help us to correct our behavior, not online, but in society. And when somebody does something egregious and it's captured online, they go through a lot of effort to dox that person. Doxing is when you basically take somebody who is anonymous online and attach a name, sometimes more than a name, sometimes an address, sometimes details of where they work. And these people are trying, it's vigilante justice, I believe, which the people who have caused the problem have no defense against, because they will now be publicly outed and then the internet takes over. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, in most cases, these people deserve to be outed. Do they deserve to be outed this way, though? Do they deserve this? Or could there be mitigating circumstances? It could be edited video? Could it be just a piece of the truth? There's always two sides to every story. Now, along with most of you, when I see somebody who is in the middle of a racist rant against somebody and it's been captured, I get a pretty fast hate on for the person who is doing the ranting, and a lot of sympathy for the victim, and my sense of righteous indignation bubbles to the surface along with everybody else's, and I want that person to be served their just desserts.
You want to know why? Come here. Bring the camera.
No, I'm listening.
Yeah, bring the camera in.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Oh, they bring it in all right, and in the cold light of day, he's going to wish that they hadn't. You're about to watch a man throw away his entire life in a minute and a half. To have his racist mouth write checks that he thinks Donald Trump or someone else is going to cash for him, and he's going to have to cash them. Phoenix, Arizona, they have an event called the Waste Management Phoenix Open. And these two young ladies are there, and they're at a table, and this guy comes up, and he's clearly had a few, and he makes some comment about Mexicans, so she pulls out her phone, and she's like, wait, what was that about Mexicans?
What did you say about Mexican men?
It just happened before. Do you know what 1444 means? Your number.
What does it mean?
14 means Hitler.
You go to
Don't
school
listen,
in
man.
Georgia?
Hitler 1444. Look.
No.
Make no mistake, I'm not on the side of the bad guys, but my question is, if it's right for us to be identifying these people in public the way that they're being done. Now, let's look at another side of that equation. The people who are doing this online are very popular, and they are generating really significant income for themselves through the process of doxing and outing other people and expressing and helping fire up the righteous indignation that the rest of us feel through their commentary and through how they position the posts. I'm going to throw it out to you. I'd love to see in comments of this podcast, those of you watching on YouTube, use the YouTube comments. I'd love to hear your position on this, whether or not it is something that you are getting in your feed. If you're getting it in your feed, it means that that you've watched them and you are interested. The algorithm knows those of us that are voyeurs on this perspective, when we'd like to see people behaving badly, and we probably desire to see them being brought to justice or paying the price for what they've done. But are you getting it in your feed, first of all? Is this something that you're seeing a lot of? And where do you sit? Do you think that we should be actually outing these people? Would you, if you saw somebody you knew, doing this, doing something egregious, somebody captured it, would you then out that person? Would you write into one of these people and say, I know who that is, that's so-and-so. Here's their Facebook profile. Here's where they work, so that they can be identified? Or would you, in the same vein, if you capture video of somebody behaving badly, what do you do with that video? Do you use it? Do you share it in social? Do you start the process? Or do you just reach out to the authorities, and if they happen to be interested in it, do so privately? Love to hear your perspective on it. I think it's a growing concern for the people. People's lives have been changed. And in many cases, they're bad people. They are people who are displaying what we consider to be socially, in our society, inappropriate behavior, or they're just jackasses and assholes. But where do you sit on it? I'm really looking forward to your comments on social media vigilantism. Joining me now, co-host Viveka von Rosen. What's your take? Would you share if you saw somebody behaving badly? Would you share it?
Yeah, that's so interesting. I hope that I would share it just with whoever it needed to be shared with, i.e., like the authorities. I say that, but you don't know until you're in that actual situation. And I hadn't really thought that deeply about it.
Yeah.
When you started talking about doxing, it just reminded me of freaking, HOAs, like homeowner associations, and like the Mary who's like, and like that freaking piss. I get more mad at the Mary than I do at the the person's who caused the infraction. But it goes much deeper than that because it is social media.
And it's business.
Great question.
And it's business on two levels.
Yeah.
The social platforms, which are now just completely abdicating any responsibility for the validity of the content that they're putting forward. That's just going to exacerbate this issue.
We're not going to check for veracity anymore. You can put whatever the F you want up there, and it's fine.
My Facebook feed, we're recording this just a few days after Zuckerberg made the announcement that they're going to do away with all their fact checkers.
Jesus.
Now my Facebook feed is filled with images of Zuckerberg as a woman saying that he's transgender and a pedophile and all of these things that people are posting. But we laugh because we can't cry in the podcast, or nobody will listen. But it's business on two levels. First of all, the social networks we know are just greedy, and they will do anything that generates traction and traffic.
Right.
But these content creators, and I use the word loosely, content creators, because they're mainly they're just content amplifiers. They aren't actually creating content. But like this Tizzy, he's on Instagram. He's on Instagram, but his main platform, I believe, is TikTok. He has 6 million followers on TikTok, and his viewers gets an inordinate amount of play. Now I get him in my feed because I watch it and I think about it, and I'm trying to come to terms with this, so I'm part of the problem. But 6 million subscribers.
Insane.
The guy's making bank.
Yeah.
And the more awful the people are who he identifies, the more his videos get shared, the more righteous indignation comes up. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And he shares, and then he shares, he will come forward and he'll say, "Oh, we found out who this is. This is Jeff from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and he works at Early Bird Lumber. They're in downtown Minneapolis." So I mean, I'm asking Jeff's boss, what do you think of Jeff acting like this?
Yeah. I mean, I personally feel like it's vigilantism.
It is.
And while I love movie vigilantes, I don't think it's right for us to be vigilantes. And while I realize that there are issues with our police state and our, I realize we're not perfect. It's not up to us as individuals, I don't feel, to out these people. I fortunately don't get this stuff on my feed. Just by saying it right now, I probably
now
will,
that you've talked about it.
I know. Now I'll get it.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. But I just it feels wrong to me on so many levels. First of all, the person who's sharing the content that it doesn't affect directly has nothing to do with them. They're just they're bystanders of bystanders. They're not even the bystanders. They're bystanders of bystanders. And they're promoting this negativity, and they're promoting this outrage, and they're promoting fear, which to me is not in any way making our world a better place. Like, if you're promoting fear, you're not making our world a better place. If you don't want this to happen, then turn them into the authorities. I get that, but
so the proponents of it are going to argue, well, the authorities aren't acting very quickly, and these people are not paying a price, so they feel safe doing this in society. And we are, so it's society judging them. And theoretically, this will make people behave better because they don't, you wouldn't do it in public. Would you say this in front of your mother? No. Would you say, that kind of thing?
Yeah,
right?
that kind of thing. But it's glass houses like this. What's his
kidding.
name? The one with the 6 million followers.
Tizzy, I believe.
Tizzy can never do anything wrong
Tisney.
ever. Like
No.
if Tizzy ever does anything wrong, and also
I think it's Tizzy. Let me look it
I
up
don't
while
care.
you talk.
I don't like him or her because also you're
Here's the end.
there's
Tizzy
nothing
end.
creative about this. You said that yourself. There's nothing like you're not a content creator. Like even the stupid dances, at least you're content creating and you're being somewhat original. And like, this is just monetizing off of other people's suffering. I don't know.
And he will say he's often said that he doesn't want to do this, but it's the internets are demanding that he people keep sending him these things. They have problems. They want them solved, and the authorities aren't taking care of it. So he's just putting it out there.
If he doesn't want to do it, he can close his account. Like, I'm sorry,
Yeah, well,
whatever.
He's not
and
closing
he
his
can
account.
he can take all his money that he's making off of it and like, okay, so if that's how he truly feels, then any money he's making off of this, he should donate.
The victim services or something like that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like, okay, if you really do feel like you are doing a service for good, which again, fear, no, not good. But if you feel you're doing a service for good, then let's take all of the money that you are making from this. You can even keep a little bit, 10% for yourself. But then like take all the rest of that money and you need to go put it into victim services or something.
We've got to find good guys.
Yeah.
Everybody in this story is a bad guy. Everybody, the social networks,
person who did the thing, the person who shot the video, the person who shared the video, and
the people that are reporting him,
amplifying the video, and those of us who are consuming it.
And we're taking advantage of it right now by creating content that
That's just true. Except I'm just responding.
I've been the bad guy.
I am the only good person in this whole scenario.
Let us see what our community thinks about this. Please share the comments in YouTube comments. That's the place to do it. Since we recorded that segment, Tizzy Ant, who is the one content creator who I spoke about here today, his following has grown to 7.1 million subscribers. And a little bit of research indicates that according to kind of the standard creator income that people can expect on YouTube, he can be earning anywhere between a low of $2 and a high of $5 million a year generating this content. So we're not talking about small potatoes. We're talking about there's a huge financial incentive for him to continue. And Viveka said that she doesn't like the guy, and I get that already. I mean, you don't necessarily want to like what he's doing. I watch what he's doing. I've seen it, and I have to say I'm a little bit torn. I see. I can understand how content creators who are producing content of this can convince themselves that they're doing a social service. And maybe they are. Maybe our criticism of it is not 100% warranted or not warranted at all. But I can see how they can convince themselves that they're doing public good because they are having an impact. And the victims are, in some cases, getting some sort of compensation, getting some sort of justice done that might not have been done because the authorities may not be, and in many cases the authorities are not following up, taking it seriously. And it's not until a public light is shone on it this way. We see it happening in mainstream media as well. A lot of the different stories that we see of racist rants inside of restaurants, we'll see them on our local television news as well. So it's not just the social platforms, but the difference is the conversation that happens in social. When it gets displayed on television, if somebody recognizes the person, they will contact the authorities directly. It won't be publicly shared who the person is. They won't be doxxed, but they might get caught. But when it's being shared in public, as in TikTok or in Instagram, then it's through the comments and through the additional posts by the creator that the person the miscreant in this case is going to be identified, and often where they work has been reached out to. They've been fired. There's often if you follow these creators, they'll say so and so who did this. I'm going to remind you of that story, and they're obviously doing follow on, and they've got a following. People are following them. They want to know what happened with the story because they saw the bad thing happen. Well, we've been in touch with his boss, and it turns out he's been fired, and now the authorities are engaged. So there's some sort of satisfaction that we feel the mob is getting its pound of flesh. Fascinating topic, and one that I don't feel that I have the answer for, but I'd like to hear what your opinion is on it. And that is all the time that we have for this week's show. My thanks to Viveka. My thanks to each and every one of you. Look forward to reading your comments. Till next time, here on Grey Matters, have fun storming a castle.